So today we're going to be having conversations surrounding parenting for social justice, continuing or starting for some of us the conversation. I'm Robyn Harvey. I'm the Director of Training and Technical Assistance for Be Strong Families. And joining me today is
Letechia Holmes, one of founding partners and evaluation and quality assurance data manager.
Awesome. And I just want to give a shout out to Letechia. She's a dear friend of mine and a colleague, and I rarely get to host webinars with her. So I'm super excited and honored that she's spending the time with us today. And as always, thank you to Andrew Hitchcock for providing excellent tech support for our webinars.
Oh, thank you, Robyn. That feeling is definitely mutual.
All right, Andrew, you can go to the next slide. So today we're going to be having conversations that are surrounding parenting and social justice. You see the agreements in the bottom corner. Just keep those at the forefront of your mind. And we're going to answer the question first. Letechia, do you want to introduce this question?
Sure. All right, let's dive on in. What have your personal experiences taught you about justice in America, and how have you shared this with your children? So just thinking about this for me and what have my personal experiences taught me. Well, one is definitely the thing that we usually is taught, like, be a model citizens, uphold the law, follow the law, and you will be fine. Well, that was much of what my experiences taught me, what I was taught to do, and to be that model citizen as much as possible. And I've also instilled that into my children as well. However, we know that, things happen in life experiences happen to us, and that kind of shifts that a bit. And so for me, it's been more about being that I am a mom. I'm a mom of 12, a grandmother of 9. And there have been times in the past where I've experienced, we have had a family, kind of a family get together going into a restaurant. And, it's so many of us. And being that it's, no surprise, I'm an African-American woman. And the first thing that happens is, oh my God, here's this family with all of these children. So they expect that something wacky is going to happen, or they're going to be misbehaving, or something that is just not, it's not going to be acceptable was going to happen. Well, that was the first time I actually experienced something like that before. And I didn't really take it in a way that says that, oh, this was just unfair or anything like that. Well, because there are differences, right? And being that I grew up in a very mixed and diverse community, I never really looked into, how we were treated differently or how my children were treated differently. And this one episode really kind of made it, kind of shifted that slightly. But what was the positive of that outcome is that by the time our family left the restaurant, we received a lot of accolades. Oh my goodness, your kids were great and blah, blah, blah. So that was more like, thank you. So to me, it's like, just because you see a family with a bunch of young children and, large, that doesn't mean that, there's always going to be trouble inside. So for me, I feel like, thank goodness that, although the comments were there, that the restaurant and the management did not treat us in any way that would be unfairly or unjust, because that probably would have been a different scene. How about you? What have you experienced?
Yeah, so if anybody is interested in typing in the chat, we'd love to hear your experiences. And really, if you want to raise your hand, it'd be so great to bring other voices into the room. I have a really interesting answer to this, and I don't have any huge personal experiences. What I do have is a lot of vicarious experiences where my friends or my family members have been treated unjustly. And honestly, we're living in 2020, 21, 22, and there has been so many unjust things flashing across our TV screens. We've been in a pandemic. There's not much more to do than watch TV when you are in quarantine. So we all watched the George Floyd, the Ahmaud Arbery, the Breonna Taylor, all of those things. And it really gave me an opportunity to sit down, during dinners and talk about these things with my children, and how we aren't all treated the same in our society. All right. And I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but the last name is Diamond. I would love to hear your voice in the room, and you can tell me how to pronounce your first name.
Hi, good afternoon. My first name is pronounced just like the color black.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you. I was listening to Miss Letechia. We have something in common. I am also the parent of 12. I just got you beat by grandchildren. I have 12 with 2 on the way. So that'll be 12 grandchildren.
Wow, congratulations.
Yes.
So that's good. But mine are even, 6 boys and 6 girls.
Oh.
As far as the question, when you're asking about justice, we've experienced a lot, my children and I. We experienced, what I say to them, I say life happens. And it's unfortunate in the way that life happens to each and every one of us. And what I've experienced and what my children have experienced, somebody else may have experienced it on the other side of this earth. And they could have been black, white, Chinese, Puerto Rican. It doesn't matter. To me, life happens. I understand the things that are happening with the George Floyd case and all the other cases that's like that. My children and I, we don't sit and we don't discuss those cases because of, I believe, our experiences that we've had, and we're still trying to get over and through some of those things. It's not to say that we're ignoring it or we don't believe it happened or justice won't prevail in any of those cases. And I'm not going to sit and say, well, life happened. No, I'm not going to take that attitude. It's just that when we go through some of those experiences, we don't look at justice anymore. We look religiously. And that's the justice that we are looking at, because it feels better to have to know that, or to know that there is someone else who's watching and someone else who's who we have to answer to. It's unfortunate that we can't look to some police, I won't say all, and to some part of the justice system, but I know there's a higher power to look forward to and to know that justice will prevail in his time. And that's the way that I learned to look at things. And that's what I do with my children. It's hard to be able to do that when you're working with children and families, because you have to separate how you feel and what they're saying to you and their beliefs. So I take it as just life happening. I can't take it, for me, I can't take it any other way. Some people will look and they'll say to me when certain events happen, they'll say, well, you're taking it well. I've been through enough to be able to separate certain things and to be able to deal with it differently than other people. And that's what's getting me through. There are times where I do get frustrated, but I don't show it in a way maybe some people would want me to. Sometimes they may say, oh, she doesn't have no feeling about it at all, or she's just chucking it off. No, my experiences, if I had to explain them and tell you what I've been through, you may understand. But I don't choose to do that all the time, because it's just been experience after experience, and it's just been always something different. Whenever I feel as though things are getting better, something else happens, and I'll say life happened again. And sometimes I say, why me? And then I think he says, well, why not you? So I just leave it at that, and I just take it one day at a time, where sometimes you just feel numb. And that's just the feeling that I have now, that I'm just feeling numb as far as when things happen. And I just be able to respond and just take care of it. And then I wait. After it's all taken care of, then I start to have the feeling behind it. So it's usually the after effect for me. And it's okay. It's a way that I've adjusted, because I don't have time to sit and worry and complain and do all of that. I'll do that afterwards, after we find some kind of resolution for it.
Thanks so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. And Adrian, if you'd like to unmute, really appreciate that perspective, Miss Diamond.
Definitely.
Hi, Adrian.
Hi. I have no idea what just happened, but awesome. I am extremely concerned about the way that people are being treated here in America right now. I'm very white looking and white presenting because I come from a culture that sort of is in between things. And so I fit into multiple categories. And when I look at my white privilege, because I look very white, it's extremely upsetting to see how much privilege there is in the United States for people who are taking advantage of other people. I mean, really taking advantage of other people. They're taking, oh, and there's a cat for you, Robyn. They're they're taking advantage of their white privilege in order to just ignore rules that are very basic, basic rules about getting along in society. I personally have experienced severe trauma from these rules, just being friends with people from all over the place. And it really hurts. It hurts when you're targeted because of who your friendships are or who you're surrounded with. And when George Floyd happened, I had a large conversation with my adult children about who they were backing and why they were backing them, because they should be backing love, and they were. But what they expressed to me was really interesting, and that was that their white privilege is even stronger than my white privilege, and they were exceptionally uncomfortable with their situation. So that deep conversation was really rough because they do see both sides and they try so hard to be equal and so hard to be fair. And at the same moment, the world doesn't treat them fairly either. And so I feel so much for people who are just trying to have a lovely dinner out with their families, when I can guarantee if I'm in a restaurant of a mixed community, I would rather sit by Black and Letitia's family because their children will be exemplary and amazing and perfect than sit next to another family whose child is on their device and then running all over the place, throwing things and playing with the sugar on the floor and whatever. I've even had personal experience in a restaurant. I've had a child turn around and poke me.
Wow.
And you think to yourself, oh, well, that's pretty intrusive. Maybe the parents will say something, I don't need to say anything, right? And about the fourth time, you realize they're poking you with a knife and they're cutting through your shirt, and the parents aren't saying a word. And they're not people of color. These are people of privilege who really don't understand parenting, and that there is a responsibility to make sure that our families get along in society. And that doesn't mean hurting or injuring other people. It just means that we ask our child to please sit down and to put their utensil down if they're not eating with it. And it's that simple, and I think it's really important that all of us as parents take that moment to parent our child in a positive and a kind way. You don't have to be loud or difficult. You just have to say what it is, and that maybe it's not okay. And I can't tell you how many times as a parent I took my two children and slapped, a lot of cash down on a table and walked out because my kids were out of control. And I didn't know at the time that they had other things going on that, developmentally we would learn, and we would go through the process and we teach them how to get to control. But, at that moment, the control was not disturbing the other diners. If my child was out there playing with the sugar, or poking with somebody with a fork or a knife, we might politely leave and apologize. and that would be because it would be for everyone else's consideration. And I think we're missing that now with pandemic. There's so much me society out there because of pandemic. And I don't think that it's really a right or a left thing. I really think it's a me thing. We're so busy trying to climb the ladder and shove everybody else down instead of pull everyone else up. And what I love the most about Be Strong Families is that we're taking the time to talk about it, to pull each other back up.
I love that. Thank you, Adrienne, so much for coming on screen. It's always lovely to see you. Jasmine offered, my parents are Mexican and I was born and raised here in Chicago. Sometimes just the word justice makes me feel frustrated. There's a lot of historical trauma and we're still experiencing trauma today. Thank you, Jasmine. I really appreciate that. And Vera? Vera's up next.
So I will unmute Vera. And just a note, I don't know if I'm really able to bring Vera up on her video. It's when I try and unmute Adrienne to share. I guess Zoom gives me a prompt to try and make her a panelist. So
okay.
I'm not sure what's going on there.
Hi, Vera. Unmute your.
Hi, can you hear me?
We sure can. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Vera Croshoe. I'm from Alberta, Canada. I just wanted to share a quick share. I passed this last in 2021 was April, May. You possibly may have heard about this in America, where that they found the unmarked graves at the residential schools, 250 unmarked graves. That's what they started with. Right now, they're in the thousands. They're counting, and so that's a real unjust and blow to our First Nation population across Canada. And in 98, I think it was, our government apologized to First Nation people regarding the residential schools. But yeah, the apology is fine, but it would be nice if that they could come with programs and assistance and help for our people. And that's what we've asked for. And it was a shock to Canada, to the rest of Canada, when they found these graves. But to First Nation people, we had been saying all along these graves were there, but nobody believed us. Nobody listened to us until they were found, and they're still finding them today. And only I live not far from a residential school where they're going to be searching sometime soon here, and I have no idea whether they'll find some there, but most likely. But yeah, that's the real unjust that recently we as First Nation in Canada have dealt with.
Thank you for sharing
it's
that,
painful.
Vera.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
I'm wondering, how did you talk about that to your children? If you have children.
Pardon?
If you have children.
I do have children. They're hurt. It really, my son being younger than my daughter, it hit him the hardest. But they were able to take it because they understood what we've been treated, how we've been treated all along. They knew of our treatment. They knew of how we've been treated unjustly all the way along. So it wasn't much of a blow to them, but it was a blow. It was very sad. Where they first found the 250 graves, my daughter and I and my grandson went to that site, and we put our tobacco offering and our prayers, and it was my grandson that took it and my grandson was 18 at the time. He's 19 now, and it hit him really hard, and it was hard to talk to him, for him to understand. But
Thank you, Vera. Thank you
thank
for
you.
sharing that. And I live in like the Chicagoland area, and yes, I've been following that too.
Mhm.
And what a tragedy.
Yeah, it has been. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, and Rhonda is offering I support personnel at a K through 8th school that is 97% Black and Brown children that are suffering injustices on many levels, and parenting during this time is challenging. Yes, it is. Thank you, Rhonda, for adding your voice. And we have a couple more. Let's see. Adrian offers, I'm so sad for Canada and the US Indigenous peoples and the unnamed children. Yeah, so then Andrew posted an article, who is this child? So and Andrew, did Vera want to talk again, or did I miss that? Okay, go ahead. Welcome back.
I don't know what happened.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I don't know
I
what
think
happened here.
it looks like your icon was raised again. So I'll fix that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, Andrew, do you want to share the next question? Thanks, everybody who offered answers to that one. I know this is a little bit deeper of a conversation that we're used to, but really, I'd love to encourage you to be brave and vulnerable and share your experiences with us, because this is how we learn together. The question is, what have you learned about history and civil rights that is important to teach your children? And so I'm going to answer this one first, and then I'll ask Letechia. For me, I am learning that I don't know anything, that my education was slanted, and the more independent study I do and books I read and groups I join, the more my mind is just troubled by the things that I wasn't taught, and that if we were taught those things, that maybe some of these repeated mistakes could be fixed. And Lindsay offered, I've learned that what I was taught in school is either not true or not the full truth. Lindsay, exactly what I was saying. Yes. And that much of what they're learning today is the same. Yes. Parents all over, we have such a huge responsibility to do our self-study and to teach our kids to be critical thinkers and to ask more questions. And if you can't get the answers out of your teachers, to ask your parents, ask other people, ask people that are smart, ask people that are wise. Lori is offering, I've learned that even though things have maybe in the past, they're still important to everybody today. It's important to learn history, true history, in order to address the problems of today. Thank you, Lori. All right, and Dana, why don't we have Letechia share, and then we'll ask Dana to get on. Go ahead, Letechia.
I too, like you said, Robyn, I feel like I don't know enough as well. And the reason I feel like I don't know enough about this is because, just like the other participant said, we didn't have these kind of conversations really around the table or at home. It was more about the day-to-day, like those day-to-day functions. So we didn't really have a lot of these conversations. So we never really transpired a lot of these conversations amongst our children. Again, it's really been more about, history is important. Knowing your history, knowing your roots, learning as much as you can, especially when you're exposed to different topics or different circumstances, learn about it. So this way you're educated on it and you have as much knowledge about that topic before you approach it, whether good, bad, or indifferent. You know, because I feel like as individuals, we are our best advocates. We are our most favorable advocates. And no one is going to be able to advocate for us better than our own selves. But the only way to do that is to learn as to be open to those differences, even though they may not be what you're used to. Even though, you know, again, like you said, the history books are so old, they're repeating so much. But I do appreciate that there are actions that is being taken towards, you know, adding to and being inclusive to what's happening right now. You know, we have many of our children, especially that was born within the last 12, 14 years, that has a very different outlook than many of us that was born before, right? Like we were, you know, even what it looks like politically, who can be in a part of those political offices and what offices they could stand, you know, is different conversations. And it's reminded me of a conversation with my, well, soon to be 13-year-old, when he says, Mom, one of my friends said that African Americans or minorities could never be in a presidency role. Well, the only my first president was Barack Obama. So for him, like, that is very different. That understanding or knowledge of where that came from his friend to say that is a different experience for him, because he's looking like, what do you mean? You know, because I see this diversity versus, you know, that exposure. So, you know, I think that things like that, to teach our children, talk to our children about, you know, the transition and, you know, the intent behind it and how things are changing now, really does have a strong impact, because those views are different. And to see them included in the history and it's being taught, I think will be really amazing, and will bring us not totally, but a little bit closer to the truth. You know, thank you. So please.
Thanks, Letechia. All right, so we're going to have Dana and Adrian and Tiffany and Vera again speak, and then we'll get to some comments. So while they're speaking, if you've got chats or something to offer, please go ahead and type it. Go ahead, Dana.
So can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, I've never actually spoken on a webinar before.
Well, welcome.
Hello. So I am, if you can't tell by my accent, I'm from north of Boston. I currently live in New Hampshire. And about 25, well, probably 35 years ago, I got involved with a particular religious organization that was really pushing for the Martin Luther King holiday. And all I knew about, I mean, I was alive when the doctor was killed, and I can remember the immediate responses that I heard at the time were pretty racist, actually. And racist as far as, well, he sort of deserved it, he was doing the wrong things and all of that. So, you know, fast forward to my adulthood, and I'm working with young people who are in a diverse environment, and getting to know their parents who were my age. And I was so shocked by all of the stories I heard from my friends who grew up in Mississippi were so much different than mine in Massachusetts. And I couldn't understand it. And I am looking for ways to make sure that people don't forget. In New Hampshire, we're having some political issues around the critical race theories and all of that gobbledygook that just means that people aren't going to be able to speak about their truth. So I'm very concerned because now I have grandchildren, and I feel like sometimes I just blurt things out at them because as I've retired, I've become more of an activist, which is how I got involved with Be Strong Families as well, because it's the kids who need to remember that these are real events that happened to real people, people we know, people we go to church with or we go to school with. And if it wasn't them, then it was their parents and grandparents that were affected too. So I guess I just wanted to say that I'm very concerned. I was so excited when I saw this topic because I don't think we speak about it enough. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, Dana, I agree that we don't speak about it enough. And I think that for me, I have learned in the last 2 years to start really leaning deeply into things that make me feel uncomfortable. These conversations aren't always comfortable for me either, but I've learned so much by trying really hard to put my discomfort aside. It's not always possible, but sometimes I have to just do it uncomfortable.
Right.
And it's just been really great. Thanks for offering all of that.
It's
Adrian?
liberating.
Yes, it is. That's a great word for it. Thanks, Dana. Adrian, you're up next.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being patient with Andrew. He kind of does his thing. So I have great concerns about a certain amount of removal of information in our younger people, our younger adults. There's a lot of targeted removal of information as well as targeted addition of information. So I think we all have to ask ourselves when we're looking at history, why? You know, it's really important. I look at pictures of Dr. King walking, and behind Dr. King or beside Dr. King are always rabbis from the Jewish faith. And I have to ask myself, why is there so much distrust between the Black community and the Jewish community right now? And I really truly believe that that is something new that's being instilled between the communities, because growing up in the 60s and the 70s and even into the early 80s, the Jewish community always stood behind the Black community and uplifted them, and they understood privilege, and what their position was to stand behind Dr. King and uplift him up that ladder. And so I'm really upset and concerned when I see so much distrust and hate, because I feel that perhaps it's not real. Perhaps it's injected into the two communities by a third party, or by those communities, maybe some jealous people within the communities. Something is going wrong, okay? Something has gone haywire. And because, just a couple days ago was Holocaust Remembrance Day, I just want to say that it's really scary that in just a few more years, there will be no more survivors. None. No firsthand knowledge of what happened in a horrific situation for not only Jewish people, but LGBTQIA plus people and Roma, which was formerly, given other names, the community. And the combined number of people who died was 12 million. And, yet we see continued ongoing holocausts and really big wars. We have a quiet, silent, perhaps a war happening between Russia and the Ukraine right now. And the question we really have to ask ourselves is, why? Why are we fighting with arms? Why are we not putting our arms down? Who's benefiting from this? Why? And I think if we really get down to the bottom message between people, it's pretty obvious that it's really not a color or a culture issue. It's a profit issue. And so we must continue to look at the big picture and teach our young people how to ask these difficult questions and figure it out for themselves so that we can come together. The people now are the first group of people that I've ever seen who just spontaneously together go, wait, no, put your arms down. We're going to have peace. And this is a really positive thing. And we, as social justice people, need to come together in all of our different groupings and look at the greater good.
Thank you, Adrienne. Beautifully said. And we're going to have Tiffany on now. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This is the first time I've ever joined Be Strong. I'm feeling a little bit emotional right now because I just watched the Emmett Till story. And so I guess I'm still kind of touched on that subject a little bit.
Yeah.
But you know, when you're asking about our own experiences, I am a white woman. And really, I was extremely ignorant when it came to race relations and, you know, what that meant. I'm a child of the 90s. And so, you know, I'm from a very conservative family. We call them racist, unfortunately. I wish that wasn't so. Boy, have I tried to change their opinions, but unsuccessfully. I have a minority child, a child that is mixed, and I am so glad that I know now what I didn't know when my son was born, because now I raise my son a little bit differently. I have to. I don't have a choice in the way that I have to instruct him, especially living where we live. It's very hard to speak your mind and say how you feel about social justice because there are so many opposed in the area where I'm at. So, you know, when George Floyd happened, when Emmett Arbery happened, when Breonna Taylor happened, not only had I already done civil rights research, I've been to the Lorraine Motel. I highly recommend if anybody is ever in Memphis, that is one of the best places to, you need more than one day. It's one of the best places to go to really learn a lot about the Black culture and the civil rights struggle. And but I've since learned a lot about Indigenous people. I've been to Selma, I've been to Montgomery. Basically, the point I'm making is I did my own research. And I also immersed myself in the Black community and began to learn the culture of the Black community. So not just am I reading about it, not just am I learning through books, but I'm also learning through life experiences, the way that we laugh differently, but we're the same, the way that we may raise our children a little differently, but we're the same. The similarities versus just, you know, the differences. And I'm so glad because I have hope, because watching the Emmett Till story last night and all that woman had to go through, Mammy, I believe is her name, forgive me, that she had to go through, and what it meant to just have somebody, you know, come into your home and to be able to take you like that. I can defend my child today. I don't have to worry about some of the things that she had to worry about. I'm filled with so much hope for the progress. The NAACP, I learned more about them just from watching that show and what power that they have. And I also wanted to give Adrienne a little bit of hope. I was recent when the Emmett Arbery trial, when they were about to be, the verdict was about to be rendered, I was a part of a community call in which it was the Black community, the Jewish community, the religious community, all coming together and praying for the outcome of that trial. So there is still some unity, at least I saw, that's what I saw, was some unity, where we're all coming together and praying for the common cause. So yeah, just my own research, I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that because I know what to tell my son now and how to properly help him be able to live in this world.
Thank you, Tiffany. Thank you so much for adding your voice. Rhonda offers in the chat, in the Black and Brown community, we have a few families that are teaching their children about history and Black history, but I've witnessed peers consider one that is rich in their culture and can be viewed differently. Thank you, Rhonda. Lindsay's offering, my generation was told / taught to be colorblind and absolutely not talk about any of this. It makes my own parents so uncomfortable to hear myself and my partner talk about our children so openly about social issues and what our role is in things right now. Thank you, Lindsay. I really resonate with that. And Monica's offering, history gives me hope and also to encourage me to keep the fight, to work harder for the people. Thank you, Monica. And Black is saying, when I talk to my children about history, I look through the history books as well as speak with my mother, who will be 97 years old this week. Wow, what rich information you'll get there. We get a lot of information from her that the books don't tell us about. I tell my children the history lesson that they're receiving from her is also the legacy she wants to leave them. Every February, my children must do a Black history assignment. Thank you. James is saying that we, African Americans, should be proud of our history, not ashamed or just plain angry. Rather, we should be proud that through all the hardships, we're still here and still strong. With that strength, we move towards activism of diversity, equality, and inclusion. Thank you, James. Hear, hear. All right, let's see. There looks like a couple more people. Monica, I'm going to ask Andrew to unmute Monica, and then we can, after Monica, we'll move to the next question.
Hello.
Hi, Monica.
Well, this is a little emotional. You know, I thought I have forgotten about my, when my struggles here, but listening is just making me remember everything here. I've been here for the last 33 years, and only like 5 years ago I became legal in this country. So, but the past years, the beginning, it was so hard. And I was just listening, what I see from now, I look at I look when I got here, and my dreams were not achieved. My education couldn't be. There was a lot of things that I heard. I remember going to school, and I told the teacher, my counselor, I want to become a doctor. And she laughed. And she said, Monica, how do you want to become a doctor when you don't even have a driver's license to drive? And believe me, that was I was very sad. I just couldn't believe. And I went home, not going back. She was right. And that was one thing. And a lot of things, our children being here with parents who have no opportunity because we are just, as they said, shouldn't be here. But one of the things is listening to Martin Luther King. He was one of my greatest motivator, because at that time I used to feel hate. Because I said, how can this be? Well, thanks God, I had a priest, and I went to the priest, and he always told me, Monica, it's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. And he helped me to channel that. And he told me, Monica, just channel that anger into good positive channels that will help you grow. And that's what I did. I always this is what I thought that day. I said, okay, people are not going to give me the opportunity here because they might be right. To me, they were not right, because I only knew I wanted, succeed. That was my only hope. But I said, well, fine, they're probably right. So, but what I did, it was took every opportunity, every people like you, like even those events, I took opportunity of them, and thanks God, I learned. I did went to college. I took my 2 year. I got my 2 years associate in science, which is good, And there I also learned from one of the teachers, my social teacher, and she also said one thing. She said, a lot of people, they think they're right, but they don't. a lot of people say they act thinking that's the right thing, but she said there is information missing and they don't know. They think they're right, but they're not. And looking at those things, I do, and knowing people, because I was in my Mexican community, but then I got out and get to know more people. And I realized that, there is a lot of people that act, sometimes wrong, but we don't know. So what helped me was, opening up to get to know everybody. And then, I understand more people. And now with my granddaughter, which is Mexican and Afro-American, I also give thanks to God, because with that, I got to know more the other community. And then I realized, wow, we are all, because the people that I know with, African-American, I got to know them more. And I knew, wow, they have their story. We have our story. It's so interesting how we all have something. And what I did understand is, to me, the solution to me is, if we get to know each other more, talk to each other more, and instead of getting what the media show us, what the people with hate tell us, instead of us opening up to everyone, to people, to their story, I think that is, to me, that has helped me make my own judgment and understand that there is good people everywhere, and that we just need to express our feelings and get to know each other, and then we'll know that the world has hope. To me, there is hope. We just need to open up our hearts and and get it out. And that's, to me, that's something. And I do appreciate you the opportunity to let me talk. And I thought I had it healed, but no, I just hear this and my God, I just became like, oh God, I still sad. But thank you for the opportunity for this moment. So thank you, Robyn and Alicia and Letechia.
You are very welcome, Monica. And we are so honored that you shared your voice with us. And in my opinion, you're absolutely right. A lot of healing can happen in groups like these, where we're sharing of each other, sharing of ourselves, and we're learning about people instead of what we see on the news. Rosa,
and just before you say that, Robyn, I just want to also say to, just thank Monica and all who have shared for sharing your strength.
Right.
That is really powerful within itself, just going through what they're experiencing, what you have experienced, and to come and be a part of a platform where you would share openly, your vulnerability and the strength that you're continuing with, is definitely a testament that we all can, do this, and we can do it, and we can get through it, and we can find strength in it. Thank you.
Letechia, while you were talking like that, I was just thinking back, and what Monica did was she strengthened our vicarious resilience. She told us a story of a hardship and how she overcame it. And her resilience adds to our resilience. And it just is, I don't know, it's just such an honor to be in this space today. Rosa said, thank you for sharing your experiences. Together we can. Yes, Rosa, I believe that too. Trisha is offering, I was fortunate to grow up. I scrolled too far. I was fortunate to grow up next to a community full of people of color who accepted me for being and she has in quotes, half-breed, which is what they once called people who were blended with Native Americans, and was accepted. And the side of our family used to be hidden back then. Thank you, Trisha, for sharing that. And Adrian said, I'm sad that you were called names because of your cultures. Your culture adds to who you are. Yes, it does. Jasmine is saying, thank you so much for sharing, Monica. And we have one more raised hand. I think that we're going to do is we're just going to stick with this question, and we'll let Rosa come on and speak. And we'll take our last question, and we will save it for a later conversation. Letechia and I will come back and do a part 2 to this, because this has been a really great experience, hopefully for all of you, but definitely for me. All right, Rosa, go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm feeling very, very excited being here with you guys, girls. My first language is Spanish, but I can't wait for share my experience today. I am working for IU5 Intermediate Unit. I am a parent involvement support. And for me, it's a great experience. And everything that I hear today is beautiful. I'm from Dominican Republic, and I have more than 10 years fight for social justice. I am Dominican Haitian descent, and it's a big situation in my country. Black don't like other Black, it's crazy. But thank you for sharing this moment, and I feel so identified with everything you shared today. Also, I'm feeling so excited, and I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for sharing every story, and I believe we can do most that we do together. I think we can make bigger change in our life, in our community, and we can continue to fight together for social justice, inclusion, human rights, and little by little, we can make the change we need. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosa. Thanks for coming on and being brave and sharing with us. And we appreciate you too. All right. So Andrea, if you want to pop up the slides. All right. So on our webinars, we always end with a hashtag amplify. So today's hashtag amplify for Be Strong Families is hashtag amplify parenting for justice. So if you would take the time to put a hashtag into the chat, we can read through some of those. Andrew has also put up the ending poll. If you would please answer those 2 questions. We're always looking for ways to make our content better and more meaningful to you all. And I'm going to put up my hashtag. Let's see. Everybody, I'm going to do hashtag amplify self-study. Anybody else have an amplify hashtag today? All right, Andrew, you can move up. Amplify revealing hidden history. Great one. Amplify unity. Thank you, Nadia. Adrian, amplify ask questions. Yes. Amplify open minds and hearts. Thanks, Lynn and Dana. Amplify seek truth. And somebody said amplify ask questions. Did I say that one? Yeah, Adrian, great. Amplify open minds and hearts. Amplify just do it. Amplify empathy. Amplify learning together. United we stand. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Now, go ahead to the next one. Here, oh, one more. We have Rosa, amplify open empathy. Yes. And this slide's going to show you the rest of the week's webinars. Tomorrow, we have our Spanish webinar. And that looks like parents of teenagers, LGBTQ plus teenagers part 2. Then we have one on Wednesday, starting at noon Central Time. And that's real talk about suicide. And the next one will be another Spanish one on the Thursday. And I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish, so I cannot figure that one out. And then on Monday, you're going to get me again with my colleague, Tiffany Murphy. And we're going to talk about launching our teens and emerging adults into adulthood. We have liftoff. Both Tiffany and I have recently seen kids leave our homes. So it's a new phase of parenting, and we're going to be talking all about that. Andrew, go ahead and go to the next slide. Awesome. Andrew put all of the links to register in the chat. We appreciate that. Every Friday, we have a noon Central Time taste of a cafe. This is going to be experiencing community and peer-to-peer conversations, and we hope to see you there. There's a little QR code in the bottom right or left corner. If you click that, that'll take you right through your cell phone to the registration page. And we can go to the next one. If you have not heard about Questionable, Questionable is a new game. I played it a couple times during Christmas time and it was super fun. And I got to learn all kinds of things about family and friends that I didn't know. Questionable, curious conversation, endless fun. For more information on that, there's a QR code, or you can go to our website, bestrongfamilies.org, and you will get it from there. And then the last slide is about our YouTube channel. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do. Give us some likes over there. And any webinars that you miss or you want to rewatch are now all located on our YouTube. On behalf of Be Strong Families, of myself and Letechia, and our tech person, Andrew, thank you so much. I feel full. This was a great lunch hour and a great use of our time. I appreciate you all, and I hope to see you all next Monday. Have a great week and a great rest of your afternoon.